At precisely 6:47 in the morning on March 22nd, 2019, a distress call was placed to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. The caller, identified as 72-year-old Margaret O'Connell, a longtime resident of the neighborhood, reported that her neighbor, 53-year-old Thomas J. Whitaker, was lying unresponsive on the doorstep of his residence at 305 Fairview Road, Simpsonville, South Carolina. According to the initial police report, deputies arrived on the scene within 12 minutes of the call, immediately establishing that Whitaker was deceased. He had been fatally shot. The preliminary assessment by first responders indicated a single gunshot wound to the chest. The coroner's report would later specify the entry point just below the collarbone, with an exit wound through the upper back. Whitaker's time of death was estimated to be between 3 and 4 in the morning. The absence of any defensive wounds suggested that he was taken by surprise. Detective Sarah Mullins, lead investigator with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, took charge of the case, designated as Case File 41887. Whitaker's front doorstep was cordoned off with police tape, and forensic teams began their meticulous search for evidence. The porch light was found shattered, and fragments of glass were scattered across the doorstep. However, no shell casing was recovered from the immediate vicinity. Detective Mullins noted in her report that the lack of a casing could imply either the use of a revolver or that the perpetrator had deliberately removed it. Inside the victim's pockets, officers found a wallet containing $72 in cash, 2 credit cards, and a South Carolina driver's license. A keychain with 2 house keys and a car key was also retrieved. His smartphone, an iPhone 8, was later extracted from the left pocket of his jacket. Analysis of the device revealed that the last outgoing text message was sent at 11:52 the previous night to someone saved as Jenna. The message read, "Everything is sorted. See you tomorrow." Whitaker's house was a modest single-story structure with a neat garden. The door to his home was found ajar, though there were no signs of forced entry either on the door or any windows. Inside, the house was undisturbed, with no apparent signs of struggle. On the coffee table in the living room lay an open newspaper, the Greenville Daily News, dated March 21st, 2019. A half-empty glass of water was placed beside it. Whitaker had lived alone since his divorce in 2010. Neighbors described him as a quiet but friendly individual who largely kept to himself. Margaret O'Connell, during a formal interview with Detective Mullins at the sheriff's office, recounted seeing Whitaker on the evening of March the 21st. She mentioned, "We exchanged our usual friendly waves. He seemed in good spirits." Further inquiries into Whitaker's background revealed he was a financial consultant, running a small practice from a rented office space in downtown Greenville. Colleagues and clients interviewed during the investigation described him as meticulous and professional. According to Richard Lanning, a longtime client, Whitaker had recently mentioned pursuing a significant new client, although he did not provide further details. As news of Whitaker's death spread, it drew considerable attention from local media. The Greenville Daily News published a front-page article detailing the sudden and mysterious nature of his demise. Community meetings organized by residents of Fairview Road expressed both shock and a heightened sense of vigilance. Evidence collection continued throughout the following days. 2 days after the murder, police received a tip from an anonymous caller who claimed to have seen a dark-colored sedan idling near Whitaker's house around 1 in the morning on March 22nd. Despite extensive canvassing for security footage from nearby homes and businesses, no conclusive images of the vehicle were obtained. The autopsy, conducted by Dr. Michael Reed at the Greenville County Coroner's Office, confirmed the immediate cause of death as internal hemorrhaging due to the gunshot wound. Toxicology results indicated no presence of alcohol or illicit drugs in his system. Reed noted the clean nature of the entry wound, suggesting the shot was fired at close range. In the absence of immediate suspects, the investigation expanded to include Whitaker's known associates. The recipient of his last text message, Jenna Wells, was brought in for questioning. Wells, a 35-year-old marketing executive, confirmed having a professional relationship with Whitaker. stating they had been in discussions about a potential business collaboration. She told investigators, "He was arranging some documents for me. I was supposed to meet him in his office later that day." As the investigation progressed, Detective Mullins and her team delved deeper into Whitaker's financial records, searching for any irregularities or hidden transactions. Although the initial review showed no anomalies, further analysis was deemed necessary. Requests for assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation's local field office were made to provide additional resources, including forensic accountants. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, the murder of Thomas J. Whitaker on his own doorstep remained unsolved. The community was left grappling with the chilling fact that a neighbor's life could be taken so abruptly, and yet no one had seen a thing. As the weeks turned into months, the case would continue to perplex investigators, adding yet another unresolved entry into the annals of local crime history. Mark Thompson was born on April 15, 1978 in Columbia, South Carolina, the son of Robert and Ellen Thompson. He grew up in a modest suburban neighborhood, attending Spring Hills High School, where he was a member of the school's debate team. According to his high school friend Rebecca Chase, interviewed by the Greenville Daily News, Mark had a knack for numbers and always dreamed of becoming an economist. Thompson pursued that dream by attending the University of South Carolina, graduating in 2000 with a degree in finance. He relocated to Simpsonville, South Carolina, in 2005 when he accepted a position at Fairview Financial Consulting Group. As a financial consultant, he was known for his sharp attention to detail and dedication to his clients. His colleague, Amanda Lewis, described him in a July 2019 interview as methodical and trustworthy. In his personal life, Thompson was engaged to Jenna Wells, a schoolteacher at Simpsonville Primary School. The couple had been planning a spring wedding for March 2020. A detail confirmed by wedding invitations still found on display in their living room. Family records indicate that the couple had recently purchased a home together on Fairview Road, where Thompson was tragically found dead. On March 21, 2019, Thompson spent the majority of his workday at the Fairview Financial Consulting Group office, leaving at approximately 5:15 p.m., according to CCTV footage reviewed by Detective Sarah Mullins. His colleagues reported nothing unusual about his demeanor that day, noting he had left the office carrying his usual brown leather briefcase. Thompson's whereabouts between leaving the office and arriving home that evening have been partially reconstructed through cell phone records and witness statements. At 5:47 p.m., he made a brief call to Jenna Wells, confirming what time he would be home and asking if she needed anything picked up from their local grocery store, Simpsonville Market, located on East Georgia Road. Security camera footage from the Simpsonville Market captured Thompson entering the store at 6:05 p.m. He purchased a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread, as confirmed by the receipt later retrieved by investigators. A store clerk, James Wallace, recalled Thompson being polite but preoccupied during their brief interaction. Upon leaving the market, Thompson drove directly home, with cell phone GPS placing him in the vicinity of 305 Fairview Road by 6:25 p.m. Neighbors, the Petersons, reported seeing his dark blue sedan pull into the driveway shortly thereafter, but did not hear or see anything unusual in the hours that followed. According to Jenna Wells's testimony during a deposition, she was not home that evening, having stayed late at a parent-teacher conference. She received a text message from Thompson at 6:55 p.m., which simply read, "Home. All good here." This was the last known communication from him. Later, at approximately 7:45 p.m., a neighbor, Elizabeth Norton, reported hearing what she described as a loud popping sound, though she initially attributed it to nearby construction work. It was not until the following morning that Thompson's lifeless body was discovered on the doorstep by Margaret O'Connell, a neighbor and early morning walker who lived 2 houses down. The investigation into Thompson's death has been complex and multifaceted. Detective Sarah Mullins, who leads the investigation, has described the case as baffling due to the lack of immediate leads or obvious motives. Interviews with family members, friends, and colleagues have portrayed Thompson as a well-liked and unassuming individual with no apparent enemies or personal conflicts that might explain the violence he met with. A forensic examination of the scene provided limited clues. While Thompson suffered from a single gunshot wound, the absence of a shell casing at the scene has perplexed investigators. Dr. Michael Reed, the Greenville County medical examiner, confirmed that the bullet was a .38 caliber, but the gun itself has never been recovered. Despite extensive canvassing of the neighborhood, no eyewitnesses have come forward with any substantial leads. An extensive review of local CCTV cameras yielded no evidence of suspicious persons or vehicles in the area during the critical window of time. Detective Mullins acknowledged in a press briefing that this lack of visual evidence has significantly hindered progress. The case has garnered significant media attention, with the Greenville Daily News covering developments closely. Journalist Richard Lanning has written extensively on the case, highlighting the speculation surrounding the possible involvement of organized crime due to Thompson's financial work. However, law enforcement officials have found no concrete evidence to support such theories. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was consulted due to the potential cross-state implications of the crime, but after an initial review, they concluded there was insufficient evidence to warrant a federal investigation at this time. As the investigation continues, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office has set up a dedicated tip line in hopes of gathering new information. Detective Mullins remains hopeful that a break in the case will come, stating, "We are committed to finding justice for Mark Thompson and bringing closure to his family. However, as of now, the question of who shot Mark Thompson on his own doorstep remains unanswered." The crime scene on the doorstep of 305 Fairview Road was methodically examined by Detective Sarah Mullins and her team in the immediate aftermath of Mark Thompson's death. The absence of a shell casing suggested to investigators that the shooter may have used a revolver, which conveniently retains casings within the chamber. Detective Mullins noted this in her preliminary report, raising questions about the precise model of firearm used in the crime. Forensic technicians from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office meticulously documented the scene. The front porch of the home was photographed from multiple angles before technicians began collecting evidence. A .38 caliber bullet was retrieved from the wooden doorframe, lodged about 4 inches deep. Ballistics experts later determined that this particular bullet was consistent with an older model revolver, commonly used in the mid-20th century, but still available on the market today. Detective Mullins noted a set of scuffed footprints visible in the flower bed adjacent to the porch. These prints were measured and photographed, though the impressions were too indistinct to determine a specific shoe size or brand. The prints appeared to show a hurried departure, suggesting the killer had fled the scene immediately after the shooting. The forensic team's examination extended into the interior of the residence. Mark Thompson's iPhone 8, recovered from his person, was unlocked with assistance from Jenna Wells, Thompson's fiancée. The last outgoing message, sent at 8:17 the previous evening, was a text to Jenna confirming his arrival at the Fairview Road home. There were no further messages or calls until the phone's GPS registered it stationary at the front door until 6:47 the following morning, when it was delivered to evidence. Detective Mullins requested a detailed forensic analysis of the phone, seeking any digital evidence that might shed light on Thompson's activities. The analysis was conducted by the FBI's Cyber Task Force, based in Columbia. The examination focused on recent calls, texts, and the use of social media applications. Investigators paid special attention to a call logged at 8:39 on March the 21st. The call lasted approximately 7 minutes and originated from an unregistered prepaid number. Efforts to trace the number were ongoing, with assistance from federal agencies. The Greenville County Medical Examiner's Office conducted the autopsy on March the 23rd. Dr. Michael Reed, the attending coroner, recorded the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging due to a gunshot wound to the chest. The manner of death was classified as homicide. Toxicology screens were performed, and the results were clear, confirming Thompson had no alcohol or drugs in his system at the time of death. Neighbors James Wallace and Elizabeth Norton were interviewed by Detective Mullins in the days following the shooting. Both reported hearing a loud noise resembling a firecracker at some time after 9 in the evening, but dismissed it as trivial at the time. Neither witnessed any persons or vehicles at the scene during the night. Norton mentioned that she observed Thompson's porch light on when she went to bed around 11. The dark-colored sedan, observed near the scene, remained a focal point for detectives. Richard Lanning, a reporter for the Greenville Daily News, later uncovered that a vehicle matching this description had been seen loitering in the vicinity several times in the weeks leading up to the crime. Detective Mullins followed up with the Department of Motor Vehicles in an effort to identify the vehicle, yet no conclusive matches were determined based on partial license plate input from digital surveillance. A tip line established by the Greenville County Sheriff's Office received over 300 calls within the first 48 hours. Among these, a caller claimed to have seen a person matching Thompson's description speaking to an unknown individual in a similar dark sedan at a nearby gas station the evening before the incident. This intel, sourced from an anonymous informant, led Detective Mullins to request surveillance footage from the station. The footage, however, was inconclusive and did not capture the interaction described by the caller. In an effort to consolidate evidence, Detective Mullins coordinated a meeting with representatives from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The agency provided expertise in behavioral analysis, hypothesizing on possible motives behind the killing. Theories range from a personal vendetta to a professional dispute, each avenue requiring thorough exploration. Special Agent Mark Davis suggested a more comprehensive background check on Thompson's professional dealings at Fairview Financial Consulting Group, an angle yet to yield significant leads. As the investigation progressed, a clearer picture of Thompson's final hours began to emerge, but significant questions remained unanswered. The absence of witnesses, coupled with a dearth of physical evidence, continued to stymie detectives. The case, formally designated as Case File 41887, remains an open and active investigation, with the hope that new leads may eventually provide the resolution needed by Thompson's family and fiancée, Jenna Wells. As the weeks turned into months, the Fairview Road killing remained a subject of speculation and fear within the Simpsonville community. Residents, once complacent in their suburban safety, found themselves looking over their shoulders, wondering who among them might hold the key to this unsolved mystery. The investigation, a complex tapestry of forensic science, digital sleuthing, and human insight, would continue in pursuit of justice for Mark Thompson. In the days following the shooting on Fairview Road, authorities began to focus on individuals who had potential motives or connections to Mark Thompson. Detective Sarah Mullins had already collected initial witness statements, but the investigation demanded a deeper dive into Thompson's personal and professional life. Several names surfaced early in the investigation, each requiring the validation of their whereabouts on the night of March 21, 2019. The first person of interest was Paul Kensington, a former colleague of Thompson at Fairview Financial Consulting Group. According to internal company emails obtained through a subpoena, Kensington and Thompson had a disagreement over a major client deal weeks before his death. The emails revealed terse exchanges regarding financial mismanagement accusations. Kensington, interviewed by Detective Mullins 2 days after the shooting, stated he was at home with his family in Simpsonville during the incident. His wife, Linda Kensington, corroborated his statement, asserting her husband had not left the house that evening, a claim backed by a receipt from a local pizza delivery time-stamped at 7:35 in the evening. Another early suspect was Jennifer Hardwick, a former client of Thompson's who had filed a lawsuit against him and the consulting firm 6 months prior to the murder. The lawsuit, filed in the Greenville County Court, alleged breach of fiduciary duty and fraud, seeking damages of over $500,000. Hardwick, reached for comment by the Greenville Daily News, expressed her deep dissatisfaction with Thompson's handling of her investment portfolio, but denied any involvement in his death. Her alibi was confirmed by security footage from the Greenville Country Club, where she attended a charity gala on the evening in question until well past midnight. As the investigation progressed, Detectives also looked into Thompson's personal life. Jenna Wells, Thompson's fiancée, mentioned a strained relationship between Thompson and his brother, Nathan Thompson, who lived in Spartanburg, roughly 30 miles away. Nathan had been estranged from the family following a series of arguments over the management of their late parents' estate. Interviewed at the Spartanburg Police Department, Nathan acknowledged tensions with his brother, but claimed to have been at work at a manufacturing plant during the time of the murder. Plant shift records confirmed Nathan clocked in at 5 in the afternoon and left at 2 in the morning. A closer examination of Thompson's financial records, conducted by the FBI Cyber Task Force, revealed a series of unusual transactions in the weeks leading up to his death. Among them were cash withdrawals totaling over $12,000 made at various ATMs around Simpsonville. When questioned, Jenna Wells stated she was unaware of any financial troubles or reasons for those transactions, noting that their financial discussions were primarily focused on their upcoming wedding. The investigation also scrutinized James Wallace, Thompson's neighbor who lived 2 houses down. Wallace had been seen speaking with Thompson on his front porch the day before the murder. His statement to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office noted that their conversation was casual, covering neighborhood topics and the ongoing road maintenance on Fairview Road. Wallace agreed to a voluntary search of his residence, where nothing suspicious or out of the ordinary was found. His alibi for the night of the shooting was corroborated by his son, who reported watching a college basketball game with him starting at 8 in the evening. Detective Mullins then turned her attention to the security footage from homes and businesses along Fairview Road. Several cameras captured a dark-colored sedan driving past Thompson's residence multiple times on the night of March the 21st. Richard Lanning, a resident 2 blocks away, reported noticing the vehicle idling near the entrance to the Fairview Estates subdivision. However, the footage was too grainy to identify the driver or the vehicle's license plate. The make and model of the sedan remained undetermined despite automotive experts being consulted. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office tip line continued to receive calls, over 200 by the end of the first week. Among those tips was a report from Elizabeth Norton, who believed she had seen the same sedan parked behind a grocery store along Highway 14 in the days following the murder. This tip led detectives to review surveillance footage from the store, though the results were inconclusive due to the camera's limited range and resolution. As weeks turned into months, the investigation into the murder of Mark Thompson on his own doorstep continued to present more questions than answers. Despite the early suspects and leads, no definitive links or evidence emerged to charge anyone with the crime. Each alibi seemed to hold, and every promising lead turned into a dead end. The Simpsonville community remained on edge, with residents looking over their shoulders and wondering if the answers lay within their midst or beyond their suburban enclave. Detective Sarah Mullins, tasked with solving this perplexing case, knew the path to justice was a long one, often strewn with obstacles and unforeseen turns. On March 23, 2019, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office received a tip from a resident of Simpsonville, South Carolina, regarding the events on Fairview Road. The caller, identified as Helen Carter, claimed to have seen a figure near the Thompson residence the evening before the shooting. According to her statement, the figure was dressed in dark clothing and appeared to be loitering near a parked car on the opposite side of the street. Carter provided this information during a follow-up interview conducted at the sheriff's office 2 days later. Detective Sarah Mullins, leading the investigation, cross-referenced Carter's account with surveillance footage obtained from a nearby gas station. The footage, though grainy, did capture a vehicle resembling a dark-colored sedan driving towards Fairview Road approximately 15 minutes before Mark Thompson was shot. The car's license plate was not visible, and no further identification could be made from the footage. However, the timing did align with Carter's sighting. James Wallace, a neighbor living 2 houses down from the Thompsons, reported hearing a loud bang at roughly 6:45 on the morning of March 22nd. Wallace initially dismissed it as a car backfire, but later reconsidered after learning of the incident. During an interview conducted by Detective Mullins, Wallace recalled seeing an unfamiliar car parked outside the Thompson residence in the previous days. He described it as a dark sedan, consistent with other accounts, though he could not specify the make or model. Elizabeth Norton, another resident of Fairview Road, reported seeing a person running from the direction of the Thompson house shortly after the noise was heard. Norton described the individual as medium height and wearing a hoodie. The person reportedly disappeared into the nearby wooded area behind the neighborhood, but no further description could be obtained. Her account was noted in the case file, though the limited visibility and early hour made her statement difficult to corroborate. Detective Mullins then spoke with Richard Lanning, a journalist from the Greenville Daily News, who had been covering the story. Lanning mentioned an anonymous source claiming to have seen Mark Thompson arguing with an individual in a dark sedan the week prior to his death. This information, however, could not be independently verified, and no additional witnesses to this alleged argument came forward. In the days following the shooting, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office received over 100 calls to the tip line. Investigators prioritized leads based on potential relevance and corroborating evidence. Among these, a call stood out from a local bar owner, Samantha Platt. Platt reported a customer at her establishment, not far from Fairview Road, who matched the descriptions provided by Norton and Wallace. The individual reportedly visited the bar on the night of March 21st, wearing a dark hoodie, and left just after midnight. Platt's account was documented, and Detective Mullins requested surveillance footage from the bar for further review. Jenna Wells, Mark Thompson's fiancée, provided additional context during her second interview with the investigators. She mentioned that Thompson had expressed concerns about a possible disgruntled client from Fairview Financial Consulting Group. Wells could not recall the name, but stated that Thompson seemed increasingly anxious in the days leading to his death. This angle of inquiry was pursued by Detective Mullins, who began reviewing Thompson's client records in search of any potentially aggrieved individuals. Dr. Michael Reed, the medical examiner, conducted the autopsy and concluded that the .38 caliber bullet removed from Thompson matched the characteristics of a bullet fired from a revolver. This detail confirmed earlier suspicions but did little to narrow down the list of suspects, as revolvers are common and do not eject spent shell casings, which hindered ballistic tracing. As more pieces of testimony emerged, discrepancies began to surface in the accounts provided by neighbors and passers-by. Some individuals reported seeing a second person near the Thompson residence around the time of the shooting, though descriptions varied significantly. These inconsistencies complicated the investigation, prompting Detective Mullins to request additional resources from the Federal Bureau of Investigation to assist in witness re-interviews and composite sketches. In April 2019, just over a month after the shooting, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office organized a community meeting to address public concerns. Residents of Fairview Road and surrounding areas attended, voicing fears and frustrations about the ongoing investigation. Detective Mullins assured attendees that every lead was being pursued diligently and encouraged anyone with further information to come forward. As the investigation deepened, a name surfaced repeatedly: Paul Kensington. Kensington, a former colleague of Thompson at Fairview Financial Consulting Group, had a history of disagreements with Thompson over client management. Although Kensington had an alibi for the night of March the 21st, Detective Mullins requested a formal statement from him regarding his relationship with Thompson and any knowledge he might have about potential threats. Despite these leads, the investigation into Mark Thompson's death on Fairview Road remained open and unsolved. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office continued to work closely with the FBI, examining digital records, financial transactions, and further witness statements. As of the summer of 2019, the case file remained active, with detectives hopeful that new information might still emerge to shed light on this perplexing and tragic case. In early April 2019, Detective Sarah Mullins convened a meeting at the Greenville County Sheriff's Office with key members of the investigative team. The focus was on addressing the challenges faced in the ongoing investigation of Mark Thompson's death on Fairview Road. Despite weeks of inquiry, the case remained stalled, with more questions than answers. Mullins reiterated the importance of combing through every detail and re-interviewing all possible witnesses, emphasizing that any overlooked information could be crucial. During the meeting, Special Agent Mark Davis of the FBI Cyber Task Force provided updates on the digital angle of the investigation. Davis reported that they had conducted a thorough analysis of Thompson's iPhone 8. The analysis revealed that Thompson received a text message just minutes before the estimated time of death. The text, from an unknown number, simply read, "We need to talk. Urgent." This added a new dimension to the investigation, raising questions about who the sender could be and what they needed to discuss. Efforts to trace the number were underway, with the FBI working alongside local telecommunications companies. Detective Mullins also addressed the lack of physical evidence recovered from the crime scene. Without any shell casings or distinct footprints, the shooting appeared to be meticulously planned. The forensic team from the South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division emphasized that revolvers typically do not eject casings, which aligned with the recovered .38 caliber bullet. Nonetheless, the absence of additional evidence such as fibers or fingerprints remained perplexing. As the investigation continued, Mullins directed her team to revisit the timeline of Thompson's movements on March the 21st. Surveillance footage from the Simpsonville market, captured at approximately 4:30 in the afternoon that day, showed Thompson purchasing a pack of gum and a bottle of water. Notably, he appeared to be in good spirits, exchanging pleasantries with the cashier, Jennifer Hardwick. The team scrutinized the footage for any signs of a tail or suspicious activity, but none were apparent. Furthermore, Mullins dispatched officers to canvass the neighborhood around Fairview Road once more. The hope was that with the passage of time, a neighbor might recall a detail previously overlooked. Helen Carter, a resident on Fairview Road, recalled hearing a car engine idling for several minutes just after Thompson would have arrived home. Her account was recorded and compared to the timeline established by the investigation, potentially offering a new lead. The Greenville Daily News, through journalist Samantha Platt, continued to cover the case closely. A series of articles highlighted the community's growing frustration over the lack of progress. Platt interviewed several residents, including Thompson's next-door neighbor, Elizabeth Norton. Norton recounted seeing a dark-colored sedan in the vicinity a few nights prior to the shooting, a detail she had previously mentioned to detectives. Despite this, the vehicle had not been identified, and its connection to the crime, if any, remained speculative. Meanwhile, the financial angle of the investigation was spearheaded by Detective James Wallace. Thompson's professional ties at Fairview Financial Consulting Group were scrutinized for possible motives. Wallace paid particular attention to Thompson's recent projects and any potential conflicts that might have arisen. Interviews with colleagues, including Paul Kensington and Linda Kensington, failed to uncover any known disputes or threats, painting a picture of a man well regarded by his peers. Parallel to these efforts, the FBI's Cyber Task Force expanded its investigation into Thompson's online activities. Special Agent Davis revealed that Thompson's email account had been accessed on the evening of March 21st, but the contents of the emails did not immediately suggest a link to the crime. They included routine correspondence with clients and friends with no indication of any imminent danger or unusual activity. As the investigation progressed into late April 2019, Mullins convened a press conference at the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. She assured the public and Thompson's family that every lead was being pursued with diligence. Mullins took the opportunity to appeal for more information, urging anyone with knowledge, however minor it might seem, to come forward. Despite the concentrated efforts of law enforcement, the case faced numerous challenges. The lack of eyewitnesses remained a significant obstacle, as did the minimal forensic evidence. The investigation's reliance on digital and circumstantial evidence created a complex puzzle, one that Mullins and her team continued to piece together. As spring turned to summer, the community of Simpsonville remained on edge, grappling with the reality of an unsolved murder in their midst. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office maintained a dedicated tip line, receiving sporadic calls that occasionally fueled new avenues of inquiry. Detective Mullins, steadfast in her commitment, regularly updated Thompson's family about the progress of the investigation, providing them with the reassurance that his case had not been forgotten. The Fairview Road killing represented one of the most challenging cases for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office in recent years. Though the investigation had yet to yield a suspect or motive, the collective resolve of those involved demonstrated a relentless pursuit of justice. Detective Mullins remained at the helm, driven by the hope that each new piece of information would inch them closer to unraveling the mystery that enveloped Mark Thompson's final moments. In June of 2021, over 2 years after the unexplained death of Mark Thompson on his doorstep in Simpsonville, South Carolina, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office announced they were reopening the case. The decision came after new potential evidence was submitted by an anonymous source to the department's cold case unit. This submission included an unmarked envelope containing photographs of Fairview Road taken on the morning of March 22, 2019, just hours after the shooting. The photographs, which were not part of the initial investigation, depicted several angles of Fairview Road. One image showed a clear view of a parked car, resembling the dark-colored sedan mentioned by a witness, Elizabeth Norton, in her initial statement. The vehicle's registration plate was partially visible, prompting Detective Sarah Mullins to request assistance from the Department of Motor Vehicles to identify its owner. Meanwhile, Margaret O'Connell, a neighbor who lived 2 houses down from Thompson, was interviewed again by Detective Mullins. O'Connell recalled seeing a man she did not recognize walking down Fairview Road on the night of March 21, 2019. According to O'Connell, the man wore a dark hooded jacket, and his presence seemed out of place in the usually quiet neighborhood. This detail had not emerged in previous interviews, and Detective Mullins noted it as a significant development. In August of 2021, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office received a tip from a woman named Carol Jenkins, a former colleague of Thompson at Fairview Financial Consulting Group. Jenkins stated she had recently discovered a series of emails exchanged between Thompson and an unknown individual using the alias Raven79. The emails, dated from early March 2019, discussed a financial dispute involving a sum of money that Thompson had allegedly mishandled. The emails, retrieved with the assistance of the FBI Cyber Task Force, revealed that Raven79 had threatened Thompson with unspecified consequences if the issue was not resolved. Special Agent Mark Davis, who had been involved in the case since its reopening, indicated this was the first concrete link to a potential motive for Thompson's murder. In September of that year, Detective Mullins and Special Agent Davis conducted interviews with several of Thompson's colleagues at Fairview Financial Consulting Group. They learned that Thompson had recently been involved in a contentious business deal with a client, Patrick Dunham. Dunham, who ran a successful logistics company in Spartanburg, was known for his aggressive business practices. However, he denied any involvement in Thompson's death during an informal interview with the detectives. The investigation took another turn in October when forensic experts at the Greenville County Sheriff's Office laboratory re-examined the contents of Thompson's iPhone 8. The phone had been locked, and previous attempts to access its data were unsuccessful. However, with updated technology, investigators were able to bypass the phone's security features and retrieve a series of text messages sent on March 21, 2019. The texts included a message to Jenna Wells, Thompson's fiancée, stating, "We'll discuss the details later. Need to get clarity first." Investigators sought clarification from Wells, who explained during a formal interview that Thompson had been increasingly concerned about his safety in the weeks leading up to his death. She mentioned he had spoken of a shadow following him, though he never provided specific details or expressed his concerns to authorities. By December, the Greenville Daily News reported a new development regarding the bullet that killed Thompson. It was confirmed by the State Law Enforcement Division's ballistics team that the .38 caliber bullet was manufactured in 1999 and was part of a batch distributed to various gun shops across South Carolina. Detective Mullins reached out to these shops for purchase records, though the trail had grown cold over the years. As 2022 began, the family of Mark Thompson, led by his brother Nathan Thompson, urged detectives to pursue every possible lead. During a press conference in January, Nathan publicly appealed for anyone with information about his brother's death to come forward, noting that the lack of resolution continued to weigh heavily on the family. Despite renewed efforts and resources dedicated to the investigation, the case remained unsolved by mid-year. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office continued to pursue several avenues, including revisiting the alibis of individuals connected to Thompson, both personally and professionally. Detectives also maintained regular contact with the FBI to explore potential federal connections given the involvement of the email alias Raven79 and the current technological advancements in tracing digital communications. On August 15, 2022, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office held a community outreach event at the Simpsonville Market in the hope of spurring local residents to share any information they might have withheld in previous years. The event, attended by over 200 people, included an anonymous tip line manned by officers throughout the day. It resulted in 24 new tips, several of which were deemed credible enough to pursue further, while no definitive breakthroughs were made as of late 2022. The renewed interest in the Fairview Road killing underscored the commitment of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office to resolve the case. As Detective Mullins stated during a September meeting with the press, "This case is still open. We owe it to the Thompson family and the community to uncover the truth." The Greenville County Sheriff's Office received a surprising influx of information following the establishment of their tip line on March 23, 2019. Over 200 calls were logged within the first 72 hours, yet none yielded a definitive lead on the Fairview Road killing. Detective Sarah Mullins, who had been deeply entrenched in the investigation from the onset, spent countless hours sifting through these tips, but each one seemed to lead to another dead end. One intriguing thread emerged from a tip received on April 2, 2019, concerning a man named Victor Marshall. Marshall, a former employee of Fairview Financial Consulting Group, had been terminated approximately 6 months before Mark Thompson's death. According to the caller, Marshall had expressed animosity toward Thompson during a conversation at the local Spartanburg bar, the Rusty Nail. Detective Mullins found this lead compelling enough to warrant further investigation. Victor Marshall, aged 34, resided in Greenville at the time of the incident. A thorough background check revealed a clean criminal record and no known associations with violent activities. Detectives Mullins and James Wallace interviewed Marshall on April the 10th outside his modest apartment on Main Street. He appeared cooperative and provided an alibi, stating he was visiting his sister in Asheville, North Carolina, on the morning of March the 22nd, the day Mark Thompson's body was discovered. His sister, Natalie Marshall, corroborated this account during a follow-up interview. Despite his alibi, Marshall's name continued to resurface in various permutations of tips and leads. Interviewing colleagues from Fairview Financial, Detective Wallace uncovered that Marshall had reportedly left the company under contentious circumstances related to undisclosed financial irregularities. The details of these discrepancies were vague, as the company had opted not to press charges in exchange for Marshall's quiet departure. During the investigation, Mark Thompson's personal life was also examined in further detail. A significant point of interest was his relationship with Jenna Wells, whom he was due to marry in March 2020. In interviews with Detective Mullins, Wells described Thompson as a dedicated professional and an affectionate partner. However, she admitted to tension in their relationship during the months leading up to his death, primarily revolving around Thompson's long work hours and mounting stress at Fairview Financial. Additionally, Thompson's brother Nathan provided insight into family dynamics that were not immediately apparent. In a conversation with Detective Mullins on May the 15th, Nathan mentioned a strained relationship with their father, Robert Thompson, who lived in Columbia, South Carolina. The elder Thompson, a retired police officer, had reportedly been in disagreement with Mark over an undisclosed family matter. This rift was considered by some relatives as a potential source of emotional distress for Mark, yet there was no indication that it related directly to his untimely death. As the narrative surrounding Mark Thompson's life and associations unfolded, Technological analysis also played a crucial role in the ongoing investigation. The FBI Cyber Task Force, initially involved at the request of Detective Mullins, focused on Thompson's iPhone 8 and his online communications. Forensic examination of the device revealed an encrypted messaging app frequently used in the weeks leading up to his death. The contents of these messages remained inaccessible due to advanced encryption protocols, a common challenge in modern criminal investigations. In July 2019, a significant development occurred with the discovery of a dark-colored sedan matching the description of a vehicle seen near Fairview Road by a passerby on the morning of March 21st. The vehicle was found abandoned in a wooded area near Highway 14. Upon inspection by crime scene analysts, no direct evidence linking the vehicle to the crime was discovered. No fingerprints, DNA, or personal items of interest were retrieved, casting doubt on whether the vehicle was involved at all. Further complicating the investigation were the financial records of Mark Thompson. Forensic accountants from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office discovered irregular transactions in the weeks preceding his death. Several large cash withdrawals were noted, each just under $10,000, which collectively amounted to a significant portion of Thompson's known assets. These transactions were made from an account Thompson shared with Jenna Wells, and Wells claimed to have no prior knowledge of the withdrawals during questioning. By August 2019, the investigation remained active, but had yet to produce conclusive results. At a press conference held on August 23rd, Detective Mullins acknowledged the frustrations of Thompson's family and the local community. She reiterated the department's commitment to solving the case, emphasizing the cooperation between local law enforcement and federal agencies. Despite the efforts of the investigative teams, the Fairview Road killing remains one of Greenville County's most mystifying cases. With each new lead opening more questions than answers, the lack of closure continues to weigh heavily on the officers involved. As of the summer of 2021, the case remains open, underscoring the complexities of solving a crime in an era where digital and physical evidence sometimes lead in opposite directions. The residents of Fairview Road found their lives irrevocably altered in the wake of Mark Thompson's unexplained death. Following the incident, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office increased its presence in Simpsonville, South Carolina, with uniformed officers frequently patrolling the quiet suburban streets. Detective Sarah Mullins's ongoing investigation saw her regularly canvassing the neighborhood, conducting interviews with any residents who might have witnessed events leading up to the fatal shooting on March 22, 2019. According to her notes, Detective Mullins spoke with Helen Carter, a longtime resident of Fairview Road, on March 24th. Carter, 73 years old, recounted hearing what she described as a loud pop around the time of the incident, though she initially dismissed it as a car backfiring. Carter's interview was followed by a conversation with Charles Stevenson, another neighbor who reported seeing a dark-colored sedan parked across the street from Thompson's residence on the night of the murder. This information corroborated earlier witness statements about a similar vehicle seen in the vicinity. As the community grappled with the shock, Jenna Wells, Mark Thompson's fiancée, found herself in the face of public scrutiny. Her connection to Thompson and her unresolved grief became a focal point for both local media and the residents who knew the couple. According to Elizabeth Norton, a friend of both Wells and Thompson, Jenna began to withdraw from social gatherings and rarely attended community events she once frequented. Norton spoke with Greenville Daily News in April 2019, describing Jenna as a shadow of her former vibrant self. The investigation also drew the attention of the Fairview Financial Consulting Group, where Thompson had been employed. Linda Kensington, a senior partner at the firm, held an informal memorial service in Thompson's honor, which saw numerous colleagues and clients in attendance. Kensington later provided a statement for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, expressing the shock and disbelief felt among the firm's employees. She described Thompson as a dedicated professional whose unexpected death left a void in the workplace. Parallel to the local investigations, the FBI's Cyber Task Force, led by Special Agent Mark Davis, continued to delve into Thompson's digital life. Their focus remained on the encrypted messaging app found on Thompson's iPhone 8, which might hold clues about any undisclosed dealings or relationships. By August 2019, the task force had analyzed the phone's contents extensively, though results remained inconclusive. Davis, in an October briefing, acknowledged the challenges posed by modern encryption technologies in hindering progress. The case attracted further attention when Greenville County Sheriff's Office announced the initiation of a dedicated tip line in April 2019. Within 48 hours, over 200 calls were logged, yet none provided the breakthrough detectives had hoped for. Detective Mullins remained committed to investigating every lead, though the inconsistency of the tips proved frustrating. Among the more bizarre calls was one from an anonymous individual claiming to have overheard a conversation implicating a member of a yet unknown criminal syndicate. By the summer of 2021, the case had become a fixture in local discourse, with residents of Simpsonville speculating about Thompson's life and possible connections to his untimely death. Carol Jenkins, a member of the Neighborhood Watch, organized a community meeting that July, aimed at dispelling rumors and fostering a sense of unity among the residents. The gathering, held at the Simpsonville Community Center, featured a presentation by Detective Mullins, who outlined the status of the investigation and reassured attendees about ongoing efforts to solve the case. Despite these efforts, the mystery deepened. In September 2022, a tip directed investigators to a potential witness outside South Carolina. This lead took detectives to Atlanta, Georgia, where they interviewed a former associate of Thompson, Patrick Dunham. Dunham, who had worked with Thompson during his early career years, claimed no knowledge of ongoing business dealings, but offered insights into Thompson's professional demeanor and personal values. Dunham's testimony was recorded and reviewed by Special Agent Davis, yet offered no clear direction for the investigative team. The unresolved nature of Mark Thompson's death left a palpable tension in the community. While some residents expressed hope for a resolution, others resigned themselves to the possibility that the case might never be conclusively closed. Discussions at local gatherings often return to the topic of safety and trust, with residents sharing anecdotes of increased security measures and altered routines in response to the tragedy. In December 2022, the Greenville Daily News published an anniversary piece reflecting on the impact of the Fairview Road killing. The article, penned by journalist Richard Lanning, highlighted the enduring questions and persistent gaps in the case's narrative. Lanning concluded with a quote from Detective Mullins, who stated, "We remain determined to find answers for Mark's family and the residents of Simpsonville. This investigation is far from over." As the months continued to pass, the case of Mark Thompson hung over Fairview Road, its shadow lengthening with each passing year, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace in even the most idyllic settings. As of October 2023, the Fairview Road case remains unsolved. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement, no arrests have been made, and the investigation continues without resolution. Detective Sarah Mullins, who has been leading the case for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, stated in a press conference on September the 5th that they are still actively pursuing any leads that come their way. The press conference, held at the county's administrative building, was attended by several local media outlets, including the Greenville Daily News and WYFF News 4. In the past year, the FBI Cyber Task Force has also been involved in the ongoing investigation. Special Agent Mark Davis confirmed that they have been examining digital communications around the time of Mark Thompson's death, scrutinizing encrypted messaging applications that he was known to use. Investigative efforts include retrieving and analyzing deleted messages and call logs from Thompson's iPhone. In a statement made to the media earlier this year, Davis noted, "We have been able to recover data that may help provide context, but at this stage, it's premature to draw any conclusions." New forensic evidence discovered in the case over the last few months includes a partial fingerprint on a doorframe at the crime scene. According to Detective Mullins, the print was found during a routine follow-up visit to the Fairview Road property in June. "We didn't have this particular print in our records before," Mullins told a local reporter from the Greenville Daily News. However, the fingerprint has yet to match any known individuals in their database, leaving its origin a mystery. In addition to the fingerprint, a series of witness interviews have been conducted to gather further information. One notable interview was with Robert Jenkins, a neighbor of Mark Thompson, who lived 2 houses down on Fairview Road. Jenkins recalled seeing a suspicious vehicle parked near Thompson's home approximately a week before the murder. He described it as a silver SUV with tinted windows, a detail he reported to the police earlier that year. "I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, it seemed out of place," Jenkins said in an interview conducted at his residence. Another individual who has come forward recently is Laura Parsons, a former colleague of Thompson at the Fairview Financial Consulting Group. Parsons contacted the Greenville County Sheriff's Office in May to report that Thompson had expressed concerns about a particular client in the months leading up to his death. According to Parsons, Thompson felt uneasy about the client's aggressive behavior during several business meetings. Mark mentioned the client seemed to know things about his personal life that he hadn't shared, Parsons stated in her official testimony to the investigators. Despite these new developments, the motive for Thompson's killing remains elusive. The Greenville Daily News published an article in July highlighting the financial transactions involving Thompson in the weeks before his death. According to the report, there were several large withdrawals from his bank account that have yet to be accounted for. The financial records show a transaction on March the 15th, just days before the murder, amounting to $12,000. Detective Mullins has confirmed that these transactions are part of the ongoing investigation, although they have not been able to link them definitively to any suspect or motive. Public interest in the case remains high, with online forums and social media platforms discussing potential theories about the events leading to Thompson's murder. An unofficial subreddit dedicated to the case has over 10,000 members, where amateur sleuths share their findings and speculate on various aspects of the investigation. Theories range from financial disputes to personal vendettas, but none have been substantiated with credible evidence. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office continues to encourage anyone with information to come forward, maintaining an anonymous tip line that has, since its inception, received over 300 calls. While some tips have provided new avenues for investigation, none have yet to produce a breakthrough in the case. Jenna Wells, who was engaged to Mark Thompson at the time of his death, has remained a vocal advocate for keeping the case in the public eye. In a statement issued through her attorney, Wells expressed her gratitude for the sustained efforts of law enforcement and the community, but also voiced her frustration with the lack of answers. "I just want closure for Mark's family and for everyone who loved him," she said. The latest procedural development occurred in September when the Greenville County Court approved a motion for a forensic review of all evidence collected at the scene. Detective Mullins and her team are hopeful that advances in forensic technology could yield new insights. "We remain committed to finding justice for Mark Thompson," Mullins reiterated during a local television interview on WSPA-TV. As the years pass, the Fairview road killing continues to haunt the Simpsonville community, serving as a grim reminder of the unsolved cases that persist despite the tireless dedication of those seeking justice. The case remains open, with detectives and federal agents actively working to piece together the events of that March morning in 2019.